But okay, let's talk about some potential levels of support and resistance coming up this next week in the S&P 500. I'm going to show up the stochastics. And I told you it's going to take a lot before we're oversold. Some people are, and that's another funny thing. Nobody, I mean, you could hear it, maybe a couple of times a week at most. Somebody saying we were overbought here on CNBC, but they're so quick to say we're oversold. So quick. If you look at the stochastics, we are not oversold yet. Oversold is below 20. We're at 27. Even though we had this giant down move, obviously if we would have closed on here, we would have been oversold, but we didn't. Because if we went all the way down here, we made it from here to here, and we're still not oversold because we were so freaking overbought. We're still not oversold there on the stochastics. I mean, we're very close, I'm not going to lie, but if you sold right here in the market when we first got overbought over here, you look like an idiot. So if you're going to buy as soon as we get below 20, I'm not going to say that's a great idea. If you want it, if that's your strategy, go for it, but that's not mine. So the RSI, it depends on which one you look at. But the RSI does look oversold finally. But this is the EMA RSI. If we look at the RSI Wilder, it looks oversold too, but not as bad, not as harsh. Oops. Let's bring that up. Oopsies. Okay. Okay, here it is. It's not below the 30 level yet. It's touching it, but once again, if you started selling right here, you look stupid. So, that's what that is. I'm going to show you the MACD now. MACD, that one looks like it's ready to buy, but that's why you gotta do all your studies, put them all together. If you don't, line up all your technicals, then you're not going to be able to trade properly. Everything's got to line up for you to get into a trade, not just one thing. So this is the MACD. That looks oversold. I'm not going to lie. So, we'll have to see what happens with the MACD from here. It could easily just make one of these bigger bubbles down here. I've seen it happen before. So, all right, let's show you some other things. I wanted to, where are we? Okay, I wanted to show you, a big support levels. Big support level is the 200-day moving average. We had all the moving averages in here before, and we traded through all of them because they were phantom levels of support. That's what I like to call them, phantom levels of support, because there was no real level of resistance up here. So how can you call a level of resistance that didn't exist a potential support level? I mean, that's nonsense. So that's why it crashed through everything, because there was nothing there. Until we got till, I guess you can say, the 200-day, and I think the 100-day is up there somewhere. I don't feel like putting it in for you. But the 200-day moving average seems to be right now a pretty good level. You can see we almost touched it over here too. So when we break through it, if we break through it, expect the down move to continue. So we'll have to see what happens, though. It's going to be a volatile week no matter what. Okay, and then let me just leave that study on there. Then we got the pivot points. I'm going to show you the weekly pivot points. And I talked about how the pivot points rolled over last week, and that's indication for a down move. Of course, I didn't think the down move was going to be as big. I don't think anybody did. In fact, I would have wished that it wasn't as violent, because I was trying to get into some shorts, around here, around this top here, and I didn't get a chance to do that because the market went right through it. But I'll just sell into strength next week and I'll be happy. So, look for these levels to be resistance and support. Obviously, this seems like madness, but then again, this seemed like madness too. So, just look for these. These are the pivot points, especially this level here. Look for it to at least trade there. Don't expect it to not touch that level. If it goes back up to here, I'm gonna go retire. I'm gonna go resign and, never talk ever again. But I highly doubt it's going to get up to here. But, that would be a potential level of resistance. And if you bought up there, I have no sympathy for you. Just like last week I said, if you bought up here, I'm sorry. There's no, how can you look at that and think it's a good time to buy? I don't understand it. I got a lot of flack from a lot of people saying it's overbought. What do you mean overbought? That's what I mean overbought. Okay. All right. That's the good levels of support to look at as far as the week goes. I want to show a trade that I was looking at getting into. This is the Australian dollar. I was looking to get long actually last week, but I never got into it because I wasn't comfortable at where it was. So now that it's can't come all the way down, and we're floating at the same 200-day moving average, I am looking to buy the Australian dollar. I did have puts up here from the FXA puts, and those worked out. But I'm looking to actually buy the spot Australian dollar. So we'll have to see. I may not buy it right away. We'll have to see what happens, because they are looking this weekend to say stuff about the Eurozone. I don't know. We'll have to see what comes out. I don't really care about that news so much, but I'm going to try to make money off of it because the rest of the market cares. Okay, one thing more about the SPX is we had giant volume, humongous volume. Of course, this volume was pitiful, but this volume, we did 8.5 billion shares that day. We didn't even do anything close to that. Some of these days we did, 2-3 billion, 8.5 billion shares here, and we did another 8 point something billion this next day. This is a real move. These are real moves when the market does things on big volume. Every time we had a sell off before, it was big volume. Every time we had a buy, an up move, it was small volume. When the shorts get squeezed like they did on the way up, they're going to come back with vengeance on the way down. Parabolic move up means parabolic move down. Makes nobody happy. So, okay, that's all I think I had to say for this week. If you are interested in seeing what I do throughout the week, I have a blog. It's derivativejoe.blogspot.com. Check it out. I don't make a dime off of it. Just look at what I'm doing, listen to my look at my thoughts, and that's that. Hopefully everybody makes money out there. Please don't sell into the lowest part of the market because it's going to go down because of this VIX. It's going to go up. Have some rallies in there. Please don't buy at the top. That's all I have to say. Have a great week, and we'll see you next week.